Tonight, more than 1 billion of us are expected to watch the Grammys worldwide. Can you imagine the pressure the performers must be under? Suzanne Vega was there twice. I caught up with the singer-songwriter in a much more intimate setting for this close-up.
But the only one here now is me, fighting things I cannot see. I think it's called my destiny that I am changing, 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 changing.
Changing is a word found in a lot of Suzanne Vega's works. Whether she's singing or reading, her lyrics have earned her a label she can live with, urban poet. And hundreds of city folks have crammed into this D.C. bookstore to meet her.
I just feel that I write from a very particular perspective. It tends to be urban. It tends to be a little bit alienated from humanity, you know, and so those moments of connection really mean a lot to me, and so that's what tends to be the high points of what I write about, is that moment of connection with someone else.
You said happy birthday.
The Passionate Eye is a collection of Suzanne Vega's lyrics and stories.
I was skeptical. Biggest women in rock? Who else was doing it? He couldn't remember offhand.
I feel like a woman. Tonight's Grammys have been promoted as the Year of the Woman.
Let's say 20 years ago, I remember looking at an article in Rolling Stone magazine, and it had the 100 best records of all time. And there were 90 men, and there were maybe 10 women. I think that's what's happened in the music industry, is that there's been like a natural evening out between the sexes. You have someone like Madonna, who really is a diva, and someone that that people do look up to because of the power that she has, and because of the kind of thing that she projects. It's not what I do. It's a very different sort of thing. It's a whole different scale. But I say live and let live.
Suzanne Vega isn't a part of the Grammys this year, but if she misses that kind of attention, she could have fooled me.
It's one of the most public nights, I think, that anybody, you know, in my position will ever have. You know, when I performed at the Grammys, I sang Luca, a solo acoustic, and I knew I was singing to 6 million people, and that's pretty daunting. You know, but I think the main thing to keep in mind when you go there as a performer is to keep a sense of humor and keep a sense of perspective, and not to take it too personally, and to look as good as you possibly can. And then when you go home at the end of the night, just feel that you've done a good job.
Vega's been performing since she was 16 years old. She's now a confident young woman, able to enjoy her audiences almost as much as they enjoy her. Tonight, after the Grammys on Eyewitness News at 11, Suzanne Vega has some advice for any of you aspiring artists out there who hope to follow in her footsteps. Don't forget, the Grammys start tonight at 8, right here on WJZ.
You enjoyed that?
Yeah, I really did. I liked it very much. And here's her book.
Oh,
it's very cool. It has lyrics, and then it also has some of her, you know, observations about the business.
Tom's Diner, she went out.
Yeah.
That was one cool song. I always think of like 1990 when I hear that song.
At one point, she blanked on the words. Everybody in the audience knew the words and helped her out. Right on cue. We were good.
Joined in. See? They love her.
Thank you, Bob. As we told you earlier, it was a big night for the ladies at the Grammys. Madonna, Sheryl Crow, Lauryn Hill, and the Dixie Chicks were some of the big winners at tonight's show, highlighting a recent trend in music. Sally Thorner sat down with Suzanne Vega, a former Grammy performer, for an up-close look at women and rock.
I'm pretending not to see them, and instead I pour the milk.
I hope I've become a bit more confident. In the very beginning, I had confidence, but no technique or no. I was very quiet and felt very uncomfortable talking to an audience, and felt very shy and uncomfortable with people looking at me. Now that's something I've gotten over, which is a good thing as a performer.
Suzanne Vega's not just singing these days, she's signing her new book, The Passionate Eye. She's also reading from it.
I was skeptical. Biggest women in rock? Who else was doing it? He couldn't remember offhand.
If you watched the Grammys earlier tonight, you saw some of the biggest women in rock.
20 years ago, I remember looking at an article in Rolling Stone magazine, and it had the 100 best records of all time. And there were 90 men, and there were maybe 10 women. You know, I think that's what's happened in the music industry is that there's been like a natural evening out between the sexes.
Suzanne Vega wasn't a part of the Grammys this year, but if she misses that kind of attention, she could have fooled me.
It's one of the most public nights I think that anybody, you know, in my position will ever have. You know, then when I performed at the Grammys, I sang Luca, a solo acoustic, and I knew I was singing to 6 million people, and that's pretty daunting. You know, but I think the main thing to keep in mind when you go there as a performer is to keep a sense of humor and keep a sense of perspective and not to take it too personally and to look as good as you possibly can. And then when you go home at the end of the night, just feel that you've done a good job.
When Suzanne Vega was 16 years old, she took her guitar and her songs to church basements, schools, anywhere there was an open mic.
If you're turned down in the beginning, if you really feel within yourself that you have something to say, that you should just continue. You'll eventually make it if you're meant to.
Sally Thorner, WJZ Eyewitness News.
And Suzanne Vega's book tour stops in Baltimore next month, and she will stop by Eyewitness News at 5 to be with Sally and Kai.
Wow.
Suzanne Vega right here, you know, I can't even look at you without thinking, do you get that from everybody?
I get that from people, yeah. If they recognize me, they say, I'll be in a coffee shop somewhere and they'll stick their head in.
Okay, well, obviously she is an award-winning songwriter, singer. We're so pleased to have you here on Eyewitness News at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
You are here to promote your latest work, which is in the form of a book.
Yes.
It's called The Passionate Eye, and it's really a compilation of what? Of all your songs and poems and some interviews in there too?
Yeah. It's all the different kinds of writing I've done in my life. So we have the songs make up the backbone of the book, and then it also has poems and essays and fiction and journal entries and interviews and that kind of thing.
How old were you when you started writing?
I was about 6 or 7, but I don't have any of those in there. The earliest poem is I was 9.
And you were wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
At 9. I mean, you said that you don't want to read, but could you go with just a little bit of when you were 9? I think that's such a beautiful poem.
Okay.
By myself.
Yes, the poem I wrote when I was 9 years old. I stand by myself, not lonely at all. I listen to the little birds beckon and call. I stand by myself by the pond with the fish, and now I don't even have one little wish except to be by myself each and every day and come down to the woods where the little deer play. Now, you understand I grew up in New York City. I'd never seen a deer. I never knew about any woods or any ponds, so this was all in my imagination. But the reason I had this little poem to start it off was because it relates to Solitude Standing, which is a song that I wrote, which was probably on the album that most people know me for.
And you know what's beautiful about that to me is the last line.
Oh. And she turns to me with her hand extended, her palm is split with a flower with a flame.
Is that meant to mean that solitude can be both bitter and sweet?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you identify with being more of a writer or more of a singer?
Oh, definitely more of a writer. I've always written, I mean, way before I could sing, and I don't really have that much training as a singer. I started off by singing mostly to my brothers and sisters, and that's still the kind of the voice that I still use to sing with.
Can you do as I toss it to Bob?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead. All right, Suzanne Vega, she is going to be promoting her book tonight at 7 p.m. People of Books in Canton, so you can join her there. Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.